I really didn't think that I was going to be doing another video on Dragon Age the Veilguard, but this just seems like one of those things that's like the gift that keeps on giving. What do I mean by that? Well, although the story has been that Dragon Age obviously did not meet sales expectations, which I think most of us thought was not going to be a thing, what baffles me even more is the mentality of the writers. And this is something that I really wanted to drive down to. A lot of the reviews that came out when Dragon Age Veilguard released mentioned the juvenility of the writing, how it was basically a walking HR simulator, how it was full of identity politics and all this stuff in it that people just absolutely want to avoid in their games. And yet, when it comes down to it, a lot of channels, and I myself even like talking about the numbers because I think the numbers and how they go are very interesting, but even more so, the mentality of the people working on it. Ladies and gentlemen, in the death throes of Dragon Age, because it's probably over, let's face it, Bioware hasn't released a good game in God knows how long, and now they're working on Mass Effect 5. We'll see how that turns out. But in the death throes, one of the senior writers of the game had a few final words to say as a send-off to all of the fans of Dragon Age the Veilguard. Over here on Games Radar, it says, as layoffs reportedly hit Bioware, boy, I wonder why, former Dragon Age writer tells fans not to worry. Dragon Age isn't dead because it's yours now. Nope, I won't yet. I won't do it. I won't yet. I'll save that for a minute. Okay, some developers may have moved on, but their story is still in your hands. So several key Dragon Age the Veilguard developers have reportedly either been let go from Bioware or moved to other studios within EA. But senior writer Cheryl Chi has some words of hope. Chi was moved out of Bioware. Okay, so she might have been moved to another studio. I was like, that sounds like she got fired. Maybe she didn't get fired from EA, but she's definitely not a part of Bioware. But they post, that's weird language, just what she posts, whatever. I'm now with Motive. It's been hard. It's been a hard 2 years seeing my team get chipped away and having to still keep going, but I'm still employed, so there's that. Yeah, so she just got moved over and your team got chipped away because of obvious reasons. Layoffs have hit the industry hard these last few years. Record growth occurred during COVID lockdowns, but since that growth has slowed, companies have been cutting costs by firing their most talented employees. That's not... Since growth has slowed, no, that's called a decline. If you're firing people, it's not that growth is slowing down. It's that you're in a retraction. Okay, the colorful language here is just absolutely baffling to me, that the way that they color this. So since growth has slowed, yeah, growth has slowed down and it's gone negative. We're at negative growth now, ladies. And anyway, moving on. Okay, despite it all, Chi still seems hopeful. They write, so a cool French woman dropped a cool quote from Camus on me today. In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. I mean, who does resistance like the French, right? We're going through it right now. It's a lot everywhere. Yeah, the French are kind of notable for just rising up and burning their country down every few years, so I can't really disagree with her there. This is where I cued in on. Many of us feel like the games we love are dying. Games aren't made by companies, after all. They're made by people. Well, actually, games are made by people employed by companies. So yeah, but DA isn't dead. There's fic. Okay, yeah. There's art. There's the connections we made through the games, and because of the games, technically EA/Bioware owns the IP, but you can't own an idea no matter how much they want to. DA isn't dead because it's yours now. This is the mentality that utterly frustrates me in modern day entertainment. So I spoke about this a few years ago when I did a video when they were releasing that stupid Lord of the Rings show that they were doing on Amazon, Rings of Power. That's right, I didn't watch it. And a lot of the discussion around that show was why the writing was such a departure from what Tolkien was doing. And I came to the conclusion that a lot of people in the modern day, especially people who seem to just have the juvenile attitude, can't separate fiction from reality. The fact of the matter is Dragon Age is dead. One, it was never yours as a player. It doesn't matter how many stories that you want to tell in the game, the stories were already written and told. The fact that she's saying DA isn't dead because it's yours now, and then goes on to say later that, if somebody was inspired by Dragon Age the Veilguard, then it did what she hoped it would do. Dear sweet heavenly God, I hope not. Because Dragon Age the Veilguard was obviously written by a group of people that have never really had real-world experiences. And by real-world experiences, I mean they've never faced trials or tribulations. They probably went through, their whole lives doing exactly what they're told. You do this, then you do this, then you do this, and then you do... And they never really faced any backlash. Maybe mommy and daddy had a little bit of money to push them through to help them with college, and maybe they just happened to hit the right tick boxes to get hired in a company. But when you sit there and you say things like, it's not dead, it's in your heart, and as long as it's in your heart, it's a piece of fiction. It's a piece of fiction, and they're treating this like it's a dead relative. This is my issue that I have with a lot of these modern day writers, is they seem to lack the genuine human connection in the real world that would allow them to separate their fiction from reality. And this is something that I have noticed for years, and I have harped on it many, many times. And I would argue that the best pieces of entertainment out there are the pieces of entertainment that we watch, and people go, yeah, it was a movie, or yeah, it was a game. Yeah, we did our best to entertain people. It's not meant to be this deep philosophical thing that make people think it's a piece of entertainment. It's not designed to radically alter your life or make you think that the world is not what it is. It's just a piece of entertainment. There are things out there that do alter the perceptions of reality, and sometimes they're so in tap with maybe what's going on socially or culturally. I mean, a lot of people have dropped Metal Gear, saying that with the way that the war on terror was going, Metal Gear absolutely tapped into that, and that's why it was so popular. But at the end of the day, it was just a piece of entertainment. The idea that the writer comes out and says it's not dead because it lives inside of you. What are you, Simba? For those of you who don't get that reference, Rafiki told Simba that Mufasa wasn't dead because Mufasa lives inside of Simba, because it was a symbolic thing to say that his father's will and the way that he was a king still. Anyway, go watch the movie. Go watch the Disney movie. This is why modern media and modern entertainment no longer has the grit and no longer has the staying power that it used to. One of the writers that you can go out and say is probably the best of the modern day, let's just drop his name, Tolkien. Tolkien was a World War I veteran, fought in the trenches, and went out and he saw some things. And you know what? He was utterly appalled to see people in America throwing weddings, and they were hobbit weddings. Do you have any idea how much he believed in the separation of fantasy and reality? He believed that reality is here. We must live in it, we must deal with it, and we must do it to the best of our ability. But he also knew that from time to time, you just need a break. And that's what entertainment should be, is a break from reality, right? Just time to take off. We just clear our mind. We let our mind process what's going on throughout the day. Dragon Age the Veilguard didn't do that. Anything that people wanted to get away from during the day-to-day was in Dragon Age the Veilguard. You want to know why it failed? Because it didn't provide proper escapism. People can throw all different kinds of things at it, but the fact of the matter is you failed at the one thing that you're supposed to do in an entertainment medium. Oh, and if Dragon Age the Veilguard lives on in other people's hearts, God, I hope not. Because if it does, that means that if people were inspired by this and they're going to write that, God forbid those people get put back in positions where they can create another Dragon Age the Veilguard. Because the fact of the matter is I don't think these companies are smart enough to avoid the next one. You know, it seems that in the gaming industry, the people who understand a lot of this the best are the AA's and the indies anymore. AAA is bleeding and hemorrhaging money, predominantly because they keep listening to their shareholders. They sold themselves out from the fans of the industry and from the fans of their creations, and sold their souls to the stockholders, the shareholders. right? Now it's just, nope, money line needs to go up. And if the money line don't go up, then we're going to pull money away from you. And as soon as you do that, of course, you're going to see a decline in the gaming world. It's why it makes me so nervous when we see certain gaming companies out there do a massively successful game, and then all of a sudden they start getting investors and people start wanting to work with them and people start wanting to buy them out. Hell, it's absolutely amazing that GGG was able to put together Path of Exile 2. You would think Tencent would probably have something to say about that game, but the fact of the matter is it's pretty good. Even though it's an early access game, even though there's a lot of stuff that's broken in it, Path of Exile 2 is actually really good. But the juvenility of the writing of so much of the AAA industry is absolutely appalling. And it's something that we should never look to. You shouldn't be hiring people with the mentality of a 7th grader or an 8th grader to be the head writer of your AAA video game that probably cost hundreds of millions of dollars. What kind of thinking is that? How could you possibly do that? Now, maybe it's just because we live in a society that is so absolutely comfortable, right? Most of us have never faced real world trauma, real world adversity, right? We've never lived through an actual depression. We've never had to live in a household with 2 or 3 different families, many of us, and all of us had to work, including the children, just to make ends meet. Go read some stories from the Great Depression. You'll know what I'm talking about. And yet a lot of these people who are getting fired, they're surprised by it. But we worked so hard. Did you? Did you really work so hard? Because we're seeing games with like 20 or 30 people come out with 10 times the writing as your studio that has hundreds of people employed. Did you really work that hard? Or do you even know what hard work is? You know, the death throes of Dragon Age the Veilguard are interesting to me, and it's something that nobody is really talking about. Yes, we can talk about the dollars and how everything is collapsing there and how the writing is getting worse, but why? Why is the writing getting worse? Why is the talent getting worse? Why is it that game studios can't hire anybody who knows how to develop a game engine anymore? And it's because there's nobody out there in the AAA space that's hungry. There's nobody out there who wants it anymore. They don't want to create something that they think they would love. They want to create something that they will be admired for. And that right there is the difference. The greatest things on the planet that have ever been created were those that were created for the creator themselves. They wanted to create something because they needed to get it done, and they wanted to do it. Look at Tolkien. He didn't realize that his story was going to be one of the #1 books ever sold. But it was the story that festered in his mind, and he had to write it and craft it. All these people want to do is they want to write it and lecture to you, and they want to be applauded for it. They want the recognition for it. They're juvenile. And it is that ever encroaching immaturity in our society that is causing us to lose a lot of the storytelling that we have had in the past. So to you, I say good riddance. Good riddance to you. If you have that juvenile mentality, get out. Get out of the industries. Get out of the creative industries. What we need is entertainment that entertains again. And every so often, something will squeak by that absolutely blows everybody's mind, like a Star Trek or a Star Wars. Once in a while, you're going to get something like that, but not everything needs to be like that. Sometimes it could just be something fun, like Static Shock on Saturday morning cartoons. Oh wait, they don't have Saturday morning cartoons anymore. But you get my drift. Sometimes you just want to relax at the end of the day, and you would just like to escape reality. And when these juveniles get in here and they say, but I want to be recognized for my reality, and you're gonna do it, paying customer. You're gonna recognize me for how great I am. What a juvenile. way to ruin an industry. So to be honest, I'm kind of glad that Dragon Age the Veilguard failed the way that it did. But I don't think people are properly pointing out the actual problem. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out this video. I apologize for the gap in videos. My voice has been gone for 3 days. I'm actually fighting to keep it here right now. I probably shouldn't be drinking a beer, but I'm still doing that. But for those of you who made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. I've got some merch links down below. I do appreciate everybody being here. I'm going to go before my voice completely dies on me. Hit that like button and subscribe on your way out if you liked what I did. If you don't, dislike it and comment down below and tell me why you didn't like it. Because you know what? Maybe you'll have some good points. Maybe you'll just be an idiot, but maybe you'll actually have some good points. And I'll engage with that. And so whether you liked it, disliked it, or you just clicked off, thank you for checking out A Drink with Crazy. And as always, until next time, cheers, everybody.